William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to this latest edition of Lambda Weekly. I'm Lerone Landis here with the very on time Patti Fink. And David Taffet is not here today. He is in New York.
Well, that's what he told us.
Right.
We really don't know where David is.
We don't really know. But, well, we're going to Trump on without him. Not Trump. We're going to truck on without him. Well, a very exciting and informative show today planned because we have the feds here. Not those feds. These feds are the funky East Dallas Democrats. I'm so excited to have you ladies with us. We have Joe Cochan, Joe Sutton, and Kristy Noble. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Tell us, what is the feds all about, since it's not those feds?
The feds are all about increasing progressive voter turnout. We want people to get out and vote who normally don't vote. And, of course, those who normally vote, we want them to keep voting. That's what we're about.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, tell us about your origins, because, we've heard a lot about, these pop-up groups across the country and stuff. And I suppose you could call you the feds a pop-up group. But how did you get started? What is your origin? What motivated you to create an organization that today is large and growing?
Sheer panic. That's what motivated us.
Explain.
Shortly after the election, there was a meeting of the Pantsuit Nation group that in East Dallas at the lot one night, and I went thinking, as always before, Democratic kind of meeting, there might be 8 or 10 people there, and I wanted to go and show solidarity and support for this poor organizer. I got there about 20 minutes before the thing was supposed to start. There were already 60 people there, and they kept streaming in, and I signed a little thing saying that if later they wanted a place to meet, they could use my office. And a few weeks later,
I was at the same meeting.
Somebody
we
called.
didn't know each other. We didn't meet each other that night.
But we both signed that same list. And a couple of weeks later, the organizer of that particular group asked for a smaller group to meet at the Lakewood Growler and kind of talk about what we were going to be all about. And I know then we were thinking, well, somebody had followed the school board, and somebody else was going to sit on the city or watch the city council, and somebody else was going to look at our state legislative races, and we had no clue what we were doing, and we ended up registering voters because that's what everyone was doing. And then we started registering voters, and happened to meet Kristy at a meeting that was being held at my office, and I told her that Jill and another set of people were going to go out the next day and register voters at the DART station.
Mockingbird. Yeah.
Kristy said, I want to go too, and she met us there the next day, and it clicked. All of the stars were in alignment, and the three of us just took it from there, and it became what it is now somehow. It was not by design. We didn't know what we were planning. We just knew we needed to do something.
So how did you come up with a name?
We were at a gentleman's house, and I don't remember why we were there, but we said, what are we going to call it? And they said, Joe and I said, it's got to be fun, because we're all about fun. We got to have fun doing this. And then Joe goes, funky. And so I was like, yeah, funky East Dallas Democrats, the feds. And so that was kind of it, and we decided we loved it.
And it just stuck.
It just stuck, yeah. And we like to knock on doors to say, hi, I'm with the feds.
We don't lead with that because it can be scary.
I lead with it.
So you ladies have been block walking now for a little over a year since the 2016 election. That means you've been doing it through the heat. Has that dissuaded any of you all? Because it's hot.
It gets really hot.
It gets really hot, and really, as we were into the spring, we thought, wow, that's going to be tough to get these volunteers out in the heat of a Texas summer. But yesterday, there were about 150 people at our block walk yesterday.
Wow.
And all of them, they were ready. They had their hats, they had their bags, they had their tennis shoes on, and they had water. They were happy to take a list of anywhere between 40 and 70 doors, and off they went. They were excited. So it's been amazing, the surge of energy. And
a lot of them were first-time block walkers, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so as you started with this group and you've grown, tell us a bit about that growth and how you by word of mouth really began to get more people to join, and what your approach is to get people to join.
Well, what we did, so after, Jill was asked to start a club in East Dallas, Jill looked at the voting numbers and said, besides registering voters, that's what we really need to do, is we need to get out the vote. We need people who are registered, who think like us, to vote more, right? Because Texas, we believe Texas really isn't a red state. It's a state that doesn't vote. And if we can build a community and an infrastructure where people feel safe to come out and talk about what they think, to find that there are people that think like them across the street, around the corner, on the next block, and build that community, then more people are going to vote because they're going to realize that it matters here in Texas. And so just by creating a structure, and our plan is called the PUMP Plan. It's the Precinct United Mobilization Plan. And it's just a structure where we give people permission where they didn't really need permission to do things in their community, right? To do things in their neighborhood, to reach out to their neighbors and say, hey, this is what I think and this is what we're going to do about it. Do you want to join us? And so it's been an organic process where people just continue to come, to find us, to hear about us, to come to an event, to come to a meeting, and realize their strength and their power and their ability to make change in their community. And that seems to be really attractive to people right now. And I think that's the main source of our growth.
I also think, too, though, that we do put the fun and funky at every one of our meetings. I mean, we do. We have fun, and I think we're not scary. And people see us, and we're not too scary. I mean, I'm always dancing. Everybody laughs because I like to dance, and I dance at every meeting almost. And it's just fun. And to make something that can be a little bit scary, and you might not be comfortable, but like Kristy likes to say, our postcard parties. We call them postcard parties, and lots of people like to come to these postcard parties. Poor Dream Cafe on Mockingbird. We started out. They tell us, I remember when you had 6 people. And we kept coming. Now we had, I think, 101 or 110 people at our last
110
one.
last one.
And Kristy calls postcard parties the gateway drug to block walking. So, and that's how we get people going. Because then
First one's free.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever it takes.
Now, none of you have any prior political affiliation or held any seats or any activism. So I wonder if you could tell maybe a little something about your individual selves and what got you to get involved in this. And I like your story, Kristy, how you liking the Democrats as being closeted to your own story.
So I haven't, before the 2016 election, I wasn't involved politically in any way. I never imagined that I would be involved as an activist or anything close to this. I actually grew up in a little Republican town, an oil field town in northwest New Mexico. I believed everybody was a Republican, and I didn't think there were any Democrats in the county. I also didn't think there were any gay people in the county. And turns out there was at least one, me, right? As it turns out, I went to the only way I got out of there was I was a little tall and had a decent jump shot. I got a scholarship to Wayland Baptist University. It was a great school. Not a lot of gay people there either, so I was still pretty much closeted.
Panhandle of Texas.
Panhandle of Texas, that's right. A lot of basketball, a lot of cotton, not a lot of gays. And then I...
not a lot of out gays.
Not a lot of... Well, I had my friends, yeah. And then I went to Baylor like you, Patty.
Oh, you're a Baylor alum also.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
We're everywhere, let me tell you. Yeah.
So at that point then, you know, I still had the two lives, you know, the gay life and then also being in the closet life. When I moved to Dallas, that's when I met people that were like me. I met more gay people. I met more gay supportive people. And I came out of the closet. And before then, I was very shy, very introverted. And that, you know, moving to Dallas and finding a community gave me the strength to come out of the closet. And that I like in that same process to what we've seen with Democrats in Texas. For a long time, like Joe was saying, that Democrats in Texas, you don't talk about being a Democrat or having progressive views maybe at your workplace because there are so many Republicans there, so many people who think differently than you. And by creating the community that the feds create, I believe we allow those people to come out of the closet, to build that community, to stand up and say, yeah, I have progressive views, I have these views, and I can talk to my family members, my coworkers, the people in my neighborhood about that, and that's building a community. And I can be proud, and that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Actually, I was telling him as we were walking in here, I'm more gay now than I was before I met him, and they're two straight ladies.
Well, I watched you do the pump training to a group of like-minded people. So there, you do have that, and you came out just like it was nothing. What has that been like as a gay person coming out over and over and over and over? Because we do it all the time.
Right. No, at first it was, I was like, I cannot believe that I'm going to come out to the entire county of Dallas in the next several weeks. But at first it was very scary. But I will tell you, it really is because of these two ladies right here. I am more out now than I have ever been because they have shown me the most amazing love and support that I could ever imagine, more than any of my family members, more than any friends that I have had. And as they've given me that support to be able to say that over and over again to people who are wanting to make a difference, then I get that support back from them. I'm a stronger out lesbian now than I ever have been before I was involved in activism. It's been amazing. It's really been amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, just crying.
We
love each other. We do. We're best buds.
Yeah.
Three amigos.
Yeah.
Or the three musketeers. Or whatever.
Or frick, frack, and frick. However you want to say it.
And what about your background, Jill or Joe?
You go ahead.
I do have a political background in that my father was a U.S. representative, so I grew up in a very politically minded household. My mother was a very strong Democrat. When she met my stepfather, she said there are two rules in my house, and one is that you will vote Democratic, and the other is that you're going to treat my kids like your own, and he did. But politics is something that once it does get into your system, it just doesn't go away. And there are there have been many days these last 2 years that I've thought, geez, I would just like to be an apathetic, worrying about my nails and something other than the state of the world and the demise of our democracy. But once it's in there, you can't shake it. It's there forever.
And now you can't get your car in your garage because
Exactly.
it's full. Your garage is full of yard signs.
That's right.
So one day may come when you'll be able to put your car back in
It
the
would be
garage.
nice.
So this is your first time getting involved with block walking also?
No, I did work the campaign for change in 2008 and went to Colorado for a month.
Oh.
Lived with a family there that I had never met until I met them on the driveway as I pulled in, telling them I was going to be there for a month. But did a lot of door knocking in Colorado in 2008.
Does this time feel different?
Yes, because I feel like this is not something that I am simply a part of but that this time I feel like I'm a little bit more in the driver's seat in terms of of what we're doing as a group and as an organization, and maybe putting some of all that experience that I've had over the years. I also did textbook sales for 15 years. There's not a more political job than textbook sales. It does feel different, though. It's a very different, I think the urgency is much greater. That's the difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. We need to take a quick break. We're going to break early, and when we come back, then we're going to follow up with Jill to tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay.
We'll be right back on Lambda Weekly.
This is Rollins Gilliland, and I'm listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3, and darn glad to be doing it.
Welcome back to Lambda Weekly. Our guests today are Joe Cochan, Joe Sutton, and Kristy Noble, all with the funky East Dallas Democrats. And right before the break, we were just kind of getting to know them individually and talking a little bit about their stories and what made them want to get involved and maybe their political backgrounds. Jill.
Hey, I have a little bit of political background. In 2008, I also I did some block walking here for Obama with the Organizing for America. I think I did it twice because they sent me to Highland Park both times, and I wasn't quite sure that was a good idea. Nothing against Highland Park. I love Highland Park, but I just wasn't sure there were a lot of doors over there that would want me knocking for Obama over there. So that's the last time I'd ever block walked. I have attended a lot of protests with my daughter Lizzie. She planned a protest when she was in 7th grade or 8th grade to walk out because of the war and
Wow.
that kind of thing. And so we've gone to lots of protests together. And then after 2016, I was so horrified. I just had no words. I was mad at everybody. I couldn't believe it happened. I had to get my hair cut the next day and just started bawling in the salon. It was so embarrassing. And then I knew after I went to those meetings, I was like, I just cannot sit here and yell at my TV, and just get upset all the time. So I kept going to meetings and got hooked up with these two. And if it weren't, the feds wouldn't be the feds and where we are today if it weren't for all of our volunteers that we are all of us are the feds, not just the three of us and Patti, and it takes every one of us. The nearly 2,400 members now. If it weren't for all of those people, we would not be where we are today and able to do what we do today with knocking on 5,000 or 6,000 doors yesterday.
Yep.
So it's not just us, it's everybody.
Right.
And everybody has a special gift, talent, skill that they offer.
Well, I know you guys are a real force of nature. And in talking with so many candidates across the county, they just covet any time that the feds can come help their campaign. Or they're out block walking in support, and they've got literature in the bags. They're just so excited. I was like, do you think you could get the feds to come walk in my district? Well, I don't know. You're not in East Dallas.
We will do it.
But
not always.
It's
but
pretty,
we try.
It's pretty, you're pretty well known, and your reputation precedes you with so many candidates and lots of voters. Talk about this car magnet deal you got going. What's this flip it thing?
So actually,
And I've seen one. It's pretty cool.
It's fun.
yeah. So actually, the pump plan, we've taken it to numerous other groups across North Dallas where we go and we explain what the pump plan is and give them the infrastructure and want to share it with them and mentor them into doing the same type of thing in their area. And what this has allowed us to do is to share information, ideas, what's working, what's not working with other groups around North Texas. Actually, this idea came from a group called Like-Minded People in South Lake. And they had little oval-shaped magnets that they were putting on their car, and it said LMP on it because they had a private Facebook group because they were afraid to come out of the closet as Democrats in South Lake. And so then they would see these LMP magnets, and they would flip them upside down. And I was like, we need to do that with our funky magnets. And so we got funky magnets. They say Funky East Dallas Democrats, and they're blue and they're oval. And the whole concept is we get all of our members who can or want to buy them. They put them on the back of their car, and then when you see another funky magnet at the grocery store or at the
wild.
We call it in the wild, which means it's not at a Fed's event. You go, you take it off the back of the car, you turn it upside down, you put it back on, and then you take a picture of it and put it on our Facebook page, and it's called Flippin' Funky in East Dallas. And that also means that we're going to flip all those legislative seats in East Dallas as well. But it's really about building community and showing that, wow, there's another one, and there's another one, and there's another one, and they're all around us.
It's kind of like the Knon bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Or when you wear a Knon t-shirt. I get the Knon nod. I think it's the Knon nod.
The Knon nod.
Because people go, oh, you listen to Knon. It's kind of like that Stealth Underground feel, like I get the nod or the wink,
The Knon.
Secret Society.
The Knon nod and the funky flip. I like it.
So good.
So when you guys are out block walking, the ultimate goal is to get people out to vote. Do you ever hear any reasons why people, what are the reasons that people said that they don't vote or have never voted?
A lot of them say, a lot of people at first were saying to us, oh, I vote every 4 years. And we're like, okay, wait a second. You can't just vote during the presidential year. That's why we have Abbott and those crazies down there now, because nobody voted in 2014. Mm-hmm. And you've got to vote then, you've got to vote at the local level and stuff too. And they're like, well, my vote doesn't count. That, Texas is so red, there's Republicans everywhere. My vote doesn't count. Well, of course it doesn't count if you don't go vote. You've just got to go vote.
Somehow that point is lost.
So that's really what I hear. What about?
No, I think that's what I've heard a lot too. Is that, well, it doesn't matter. Why should I vote here in Texas? It's a red state, and so that's the whole concept again. Is that no, it's not a red state. If you know all these people, if you know them next door and around the corner, that now you're not just voting for yourself. You're voting for other people that you have relationships with, you trust, and you care about. And all together we can make that difference. And so we're doing everything we can to kind of put the kibosh on that thinking, because that's what we have heard as much. I don't know, Jody, have you heard something else?
Basically it. My 38-year-old son is convinced that his vote doesn't matter because he's stuck in this Republican place. And we have to retrain our brains. And I think the only way that we can begin to do that is to show some real movement and promise and some victories in November that will help people see absolutely my vote does count and I'm not ever going to take it for granted again.
One of the things that is a memory I live on regretting was many years ago in the city council races for the city of Dallas. There was an open seat. Shep Dane was running, and Jill Cottfuss, who was at that time a very progressive environmental attorney, and still is. And when that came, how big District 9 is? It's lots and lots of precincts. It's a lot of East Dallas. And when that night, on election night, Jill lost by 26 votes.
Wow.
And I thought, we could have found those 26 votes. Mm-hmm. And it just hurt because typically on a city council seat, the incumbent, once they're in, they can maintain that through 4 terms. And it hurt. It hurt so badly that it was just 26 votes. And then, of course, the Hillary debacle in 2016, where we were, expecting to win and then didn't. And so all those things kind of, when I get tired or think about how much work it is and talking to my neighbors and writing and all of that, it gets hard, and I'm trying to help a couple of candidates around the county and go over and help them, and it just hurts because when you're tired or you don't feel well, it's really tough to get back in. But I remember those 26 votes. 26 votes made the difference.
We've talked about that we have, what are we at now, 65 days until the election, and 40-something until early voting, which is, we really need to push early voting because that's when a lot of things are won and lost. But that we have to the whole group of the feds, everybody that I talked to said we don't want to be in that situation where there's 4 votes or 26 votes or 18 votes, and that we really want to leave it all on the field for the next 65 days, because
No regrets.
No regrets.
That's right.
And the other thing about it is that energy. The 3 of us here, and tens of hundreds of people that are working with us know that exact that fatigue that I want to go back to my normal life. But what I have found is every time I go to a Feds event, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. We're going to go to a block walk, or we're going to go to a postcard party, or we're going to have a meeting, or we're going to plan something. But every time I meet up with these people, Joe and Jill, and any other group of the Feds, whether it's 10 of them or whether it's 200 of them, I walk away with this increased energy, determination that we're going to make it happen. Because the energy that I feel from the other Feds, that we can make it happen, is just immense. That gives me energy. It gives me hope. It pumps me up to do the next thing the next day. So if anybody's been thinking about coming out and working with the Feds, come out, because the energy is palatable.
And real quick, we haven't mentioned this. If somebody wants to get involved with the Feds, how do they contact you all?
They can join our closed Facebook page, but they have to give me their email or I will not let them join. I have like 128, because if they can't do that, I won't do it. If they can't.
Totally understandable.
So yeah. I've gotten kind of mean about it, but I write them a little private message and say, in order to do that, I mean, they have the questions and stuff, so they have the opportunity, but they come to our events, they can join on our website.
Feds.org.
Come to a block walk. We have you sign in, and you could email me even, and we'll take you.
And for those listeners, there's a lot of events. Still a lot coming up.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So you have time to get involved.
Oh, yes. It's never too late, and never too little. As much as you can do. Yes.
So aside from voting, we know that, getting involved, there's more to do. There's phone calls to be made.
Mm-hmm.
There's emails to be sent. There's postcards to be mailed.
Texting. There's
packets to be packed.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do. Joe, share the story with us that you shared before the show about how someone can still be involved without actually getting out and walking.
Sure. I have 2 lovely, wonderful neighbors who, for their entire lives, never wanted anyone to know anything about their politics. No yard signs. If they wanted something posted on Facebook that they thought was really serious, needed to get out there, they would message me and ask me to post it, because they didn't want anyone to know that they were thinking that way, right? So last winter we had some postcards that needed stamps, and I called them and asked them what they were doing, if they were busy, could they help us get these postcards stamped. And they said, yeah, sure, come on over. So I went over and took the 1,000 or so postcards, and we sat at their dining table and got them all ready to go. As I was leaving, and again, both of these ladies are retired and, again, very private, very old school. And as I was leaving, they stood on the front porch and they were clapping their hands, saying, "We're part of the resistance." So the fact is that there is absolutely something for everyone to do, and the very least of those, the most important of those is to vote. So if all anybody does as a result of our activism and our organization is show up at the polls on the first day of early voting, October 22nd, then we've done something great. But we ask people to bring their skill sets, their interests, their passions, and share those with us, and they're doing it. They're doing it en masse, actually.
And is Feds, when the election day comes, or even early voting, are you all going to help people get people actually to the polls physically?
Well, we're actually working with a group called Take 3 Voters, and it's take3voters.com, I believe. And we've partnered with them, and they're a fantastic new group that the idea is you're a driver in a car. Most cars seat 4 people, so you take 3 people with you
fill
to
up
vote.
the car.
Yeah, fill up the car to go vote. And they're working with candidates as well, and targeting people like young students maybe that have never voted before, go help them do that. Our seniors, that maybe need a ride, that type of thing. And they're, finding out from candidates. And on our block walks, we ask people, do you need a ride to the polls? Are you taken care of that way? And so I think that's what they're going to do a great job of.
That's an awesome idea.
That's on our website as well if anybody wants to sign up to be a driver.
Yes.
There's lots of drivers needed, and the whole concept behind that is that they also, when you sign up to drive, you're driving people in your area. So they have a whole set of software behind that to make it that way where you're not driving all over the county, that everybody drives close to their house.
And I've done driving before for elections. And it is nice to be able to have one area because you can be a lot more efficient.
Right.
If I have to be in, East Dallas and then go over to West Dallas in order to give somebody a ride, I've killed 30 minutes getting there in traffic and then have to get, to the next call. But that's what we used to do, is just move from one to the next.
Right.
Like, got anybody, I've finished here, what's the next address? And you go. But that's so efficient, and I love that we're able to use technologies to save people time, get people where they need to be and back home, and that's just so exciting.
And on our October 1st meeting at the Granada Theater, I'd like to say, because it's going to be so big, we are having people talk about things you can do at the election. You can be a judge, you can be a clerk. We're having somebody from who works with the Texas Civil Rights Project talk about things we need to be aware of while voting or working at the polls or whatever, to know that there's a number you can call and report if there's anything suspicious going on and that kind of thing. So we want people to actually be very involved during the election, whether it be a judge, a clerk, or a poll greeter, or driving people to the polls, or having a party after voting. Any of that. So
we like parties.
We do.
So as we've mentioned many times already in the show, Texas is a very red state. So we think, a lot of Democrats might be in a closet. But inevitably, when you're knocking on doors, you're going to knock on a Republican's door at some point. What's the experience been like? Have they been receptive? Have they been kind of...
I had one let me in his house last week. It was I went to the door and
He actually let you in.
Well, I was standing at his door with my T-shirt that says "We the People." I think that's a Tea Party phrase, right? Mm-hmm. So I knock on his door, and he calls Mrs. over to the door, and he opens the screen door and holds it open for me, and I'm thinking, this is kind of weird, but I thought, well, all right. I stepped in. I had people on the street with me, so I knew that they would miss me eventually. But I had the campaign literature, and I was at that particular time we were walking for Colin Allred in House District 32, and he said, "Mama, come here. She's here to talk about politics." And we started just having a conversation. I said yes, told him who I was and who I was with, and he looked at me kind of funny, and I said, "Do you know our candidate, Colin Allred?" And he kind of stood back, and he took the brochure from me, and he looked at it, and he said, "Is he a Republican?" And I said, "No, sir, he's a Democrat." And that's when he went to the door, and he opened it wide again so that I could leave.
It's like trying to get a stray bird stray cat out of your house. Go.
He didn't say anything, just opened the door.
He opened the door. I knew what he meant. He opened the door, and I got the message. I said, "Thank you. You guys have a great day and a wonderful week." And I just went on my way. It's just easier to not waste time, energy, or breath trying to change somebody's mind, but rather to, I say, go after the low-hanging fruit. And those are the people that we know probably do agree with us and most likely would go out and vote progressively or for the Democratic candidates. And so we try to stay focused on making sure those folks have a plan and implement it when the election is here.
And a lot of folks that come out and want to walk with us or go through the gateway drug postcards and then to block walking, that's one of their number one fears is, how do I express myself, and what do I have to say to a Republican when they answer the door, and are they going to yell at me, are they going to fight? And that's the whole thing. We're trying to find the voters who don't vote frequently but are registered and who think like us. And there's no reason for us to change anyone's mind, right? And so our direction to them, anybody who comes to walk with us, is if they're a Republican, a Trump supporter, somebody who gives resistance on in a very aggressive way, that you just say, thank you for your time, have a nice day, and walk away. Last couple weeks ago, a lady was on our list to go talk to. The gentleman answered the door, and he said, there are no Democrats in this house. This is a Republican household. And I said, well, what about your wife? And she's she's not voting Democrat anymore either. Ever since that election up in New York, I'm trying to kill all the Democrats. And I said, well, have a nice day. And I walked on.
Wow. Actually said the word kill.
He actually said the word kill. It was
okay.
But the thing is,
very rare.
It's very rare. He just closed his door and I walked on. That has to be the worst possible thing that you're going to encounter. He was grumpy. He was definitely a Republican. He was, not a happy guy. But all I have to do is walk away. I have somebody with me, and we go on to the next house. So,
and when you're out, I remember many times when we were block walking on gay issues that were on the ballot, talking to people, and if they were belligerent or anti, we're going to persuade anybody. We're literally, we know you're here. If you're going to join us, be sure to vote. And this is how and where you vote.
Right.
So our biggest thing was, just be polite and smile when you leave. And that impression that they get when they think about what gay person is, not that they were screaming back at them or yelling or somehow super angry or egged their house or something. It's that, they asked and then they smiled and said, have a good day, and went on. And I think that's a really great way to leave, potential voters in the future, because they don't think about it as a negative experience.
Experience. Actually, and that's I have an interesting side story on that. So,
we need to take a quick break.
Sure.
And when we come right back, tell us that story.
Okay.
We'll be right back on Lambda Weekly.
All right.
Hi, this is Valletta Lil, and I listen to Lambda Weekly. I hope that you will too.
And welcome back to Lambda Weekly. I'm Lerone Landis here with Patti Fink. David will be back next week, so we think. We're just talking block walking and voting, getting out the vote, and all those kinds of things with the ladies from Feds, Funky East Dallas Democrats. And right before the break, Kristy was going to share a block walking story with us.
Well, it's actually not a block walking story, but it's a It's a Republican story. Patti was talking about when she was block walking, and that you want to leave everybody with a good feel, and that okay, if I'm walking on LGBT issues, that if you walk away, they might not agree with you, but they'll get a good feel, and that's what an LGBT person is about, and that they have a good feeling. So there's a gentleman who lives across the street from me. He's a Republican. When I first moved in 10 years ago, he realized what was going on across the street. He didn't talk to us for about 8 months. But over the years, he is, he's my buddy. He comes over, we sit out on the front porch like a couple of old guys and drink some drinks and have a little conversation. I don't smoke cigars with him, and so anyway, he has had Republican signs for different candidates up in his front yard. Well, I've started putting my signs up. He took his signs down when the person right next to me started putting the same signs up. He doesn't really like that person next door to me, but he likes me. So he took his signs down, and now the person next door, we've had this little sign war going on. I put a sign up, she puts a Republican sign up. I put a different Democrat candidate sign up, she puts a different one up. And now she's put a huge 8x6 sign for the person running in a district that's not even our district. So 8x6, it's in a residential neighborhood
on a street that you would not drive down unless you lived on it.
That's a big street, and that's a big face right there, 4 inches from my property line. So Kendall Scudder came over and put his sign up.
Love Kendall.
Kendall was on our show.
Yes.
Yeah, about 4 inches from that sign, so that sign can't be seen. But anyway. My neighbor's probably not happy, but my next door neighbor, he's a Republican, but he has a different feel, I think, for a lesbian and for a Democrat, now that I've had an influence on him. So anyway.
Oh, that's awesome.
I just have to share this big story. I got involved with the Feds some time ago, I think last summer, and there was an event that I couldn't make for some reason, but you guys were at an eatery over by the lake, and I went by to tell Kendall hi and hug his neck and stuff, and you were there with your wife, and to that point, no one believed you actually had a wife.
Why?
Because we never saw her.
You never saw her.
You know, she'd be talking Heather this, Heather that, and no Heather. There's no Heather anywhere.
A phantom Heather.
Well, Heather, Heather doesn't
Ran a wife.
Heather doesn't get involved in. She very much thinks and votes like we do, but she doesn't go to a lot of the events. She's in the background. She's doing the packet making, whatever. So she was known as the unicorn.
But Heather does exist.
Heather does. Because she was at that event I went that night, and Kristy like stood up as I was leaving. She goes, "Hey, come over here. I want you to meet Heather.
There's a Heather.
There's a real Heather."
They might think the same thing about Jim. They would think the same thing about my husband because he doesn't come to anything either because he doesn't like small talk. So he's like, no, this is your deal, but I support you. And he's very supportive for all of us.
Absolutely.
And I've met Jim.
And yes, they have met Jim several times. Yes, they have met Jim several times, and he's a great support for all of us and what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And if you're listening, honey, I love you.
It's pretty true in activism circles. You get the spouse who kind of like has to put up with the comings and goings, and I can't do that because I've got to go do this. And blah blah. So there really should be like a citywide or North Texas wide support group for all of
I think there should be
for the spouses.
Because right now Heather's walking through about 50,000 pieces of Kindle literature to get through the garage. So thank you.
I talked to Heather yesterday, and she and I agreed that she said I just realized now that if Kristy's not at home, she's working. She's working the feds, and that's pretty much most of the time.
Yeah. That's for the three of us.
This has become a full-time with overtime job for all of us.
Yeah.
So
and it will pay off.
Yes.
We hope so.
Yeah. So you all started out block walking in East Dallas. Have you expanded that area, or are you just limited to over there?
Well, our outreach is further than that. We've been focusing on our legislative candidates and then other candidates in the East Dallas area. We've been asked, in the beginning we were asked to go to different areas outside of East Dallas, our 635 area. And at that point we weren't able to because we were still building the infrastructure. We're getting requests to go out of that area, and we're starting to be able to do that just because of our numbers, but still supporting the legislative candidates that are in our area, just in their districts outside of our area. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. And do you guys agree with that? That's kind of our plan.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as long as we have numbers, and we're happy to help any candidate that is good and progressive and compassionate. So yeah, definitely.
But I think too I remember when the census came out in 2010, and we discovered that for the first time, Texas had more urban population than rural population. But that's not true when we came to voting.
Right.
And in 2014, when Whitney Davis ran for governor, one of the strategies was to just crank the volume in urban areas. And that's still the same problem of getting people who don't vote to vote. But it's quite possible when you look at the boundaries of where you guys function with 75 and 635 and 30, that's a lot of voters. And that's a lot of voters who are urban and whose so many districts they're part of, including myself, are bigger districts outside that area. But if we turn out the voters in that area, that is cranking the numbers in the urban area. That's really important.
Especially if we're able to do that, and when for the first time in many, many, many election cycles, we have candidates like Beto and like Kendall Scudder, who's been working in East Texas to try to just rebuild the young Democratic parties, and working to basically shaking the trees in some of these counties where there hasn't been a Democratic candidate even for, I don't know, probably decades in some cases, where there's just not been anybody to bring Democrats out. So we have that as well, that maybe if we can lift as much as we can here in Dallas County and then be bolstered a little bit by at least some activism in the rural counties, it really could help some of these candidates, Dan Wood, Kendall Scudder, that are literally hugging urban and rural districts. They've got one foot in each side.
And to explain that a little bit more, if people aren't aware of that, what redistricting, that's basically how the lines for Texas House districts, Texas Senate districts, and U.S. congressional districts are done. It's done at the state legislature level. And basically what's happened is that because of what Patti was saying, the mass population in urban districts, it was kind of tried to dilute that by doing redistricting, where from the center of an urban district, a pie shape out through the urban district and way out to the state lines through the rural counties created this section of each city that was overshadowed by a large rural area. And so now that the populations of those cities have increased, those districts, more than half of the voting population in each of those pie-shaped districts out from the city centers is now urban. And if we can really have people who think like us vote in mass out in the urban areas and get, like what Joe said, a little bit of bump in the rural areas, which is happening, then we can make a lot of change in this cycle.
Do you sometimes feel that maybe especially here in Dallas, sometimes I think we might be a little spoiled because it is blue.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But, right outside of Dallas, it is not. But do you sometimes feel like the challenge is bigger because people think, oh, we're Democratic and we're going to win already? Like you're preaching to the choir?
I actually think somewhat, yes, definitely on that, because I've been told that by people, and I know Dallas County went for Hillary and all of that kind of stuff, but we still have Morgan Meyer, we still have Don Huffines, we have Patrick and Abbott. I don't consider us blue because we voted those people in. But I do think some Democrats sit at home because they think, oh, we're good here in Dallas County because we're blue.
Right.
And no, we need you to vote at the local level, municipal level, all of that, and at every election that you have the opportunity to go, you have that right. Go vote, please.
And part of, again, the infrastructure of the pump plan is that, like I said, we've gone to rural counties and said, this is what we're doing. And you can take this plan and the structure and then modify it to what will work in your area. And that's what we feel that we need to do to support not only people in our area, but Democrats who are in the rural areas. Because like you said, they're isolated. We're in a place where we have lots of veto signs. But what's happening is with just the little support that we're able to provide rural Democrats, they are taking off and they are block walking and they are putting veto signs up. And they are showing that it might not be right next door, but it's down the country road to the east. There's another Democrat on that farm down there, and they're going to put a veto sign up. And they're starting to gather at their city centers to talk about what's important to them and what they need to be doing. And that's what's really encouraging. Right. They're building community in the rural areas. And right now I've got chills just thinking about it because I love my Kaufman County country Democrats because they're working hard. And they're doing that in Hunt County and they're doing that in Hopkins County. And that's what's inspiring. You know what I mean?
And, to play back up Patti's point, you said that Texas for the first time had more population, a bigger population in metropolitan areas than in the country. I know, and I'm not for sure about this 2016 election, but I know in the 2008 and 2012 election, Obama won all the major metropolitan areas in Texas, yet he still lost the state. So that tells you how strong those votes out there are.
Yes.
Well, and it's rough. There are a lot of
rough.
counties. Albeit like a county that has 25,000 people, or 25,000 registered voters, and then 25,000, or let's just say 12,000 of those voters show up, and they do vote Republican. Well, we're in the process of changing that, and I think there's a lot of people, especially the Navasota town hall that Beto had this past week
Right.
was over the top, overflowing with people, kind of like your Feds event over at Ozona in Greenville, where that you were made the New York Times.
Yeah.
You were mentioned in the New York Times, and people are coming out. They're coming out to be part of something bigger than themselves and to do their part. And I think that's so exciting. And I can remember countless block walks this cycle where I've gone to a door and someone says, no one ever in my entire life has ever asked for my vote.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And that breaks my heart.
Absolutely.
And they get so excited because I would say, well, will you vote for this candidate? Will you vote for this candidate? And they're like, this is so exciting because I've never been asked.
I think something that's really important for everyone to remember as we go into this particular election is that, at least as far as the feds go and the pump plan and all of the things that we're doing, we never intended or expected that our efforts would create some significant change in 2018. We're looking for little wins. We're looking for the door to open just a little bit further for us, because what we do know is that 2020 is going to be a freaking nightmare. And we want to have as much infrastructure in place and as many feet on the street as possible who are already trained, who are already empowered, who already understand the value of their vote, so that when we move into future elections, we have built some community, and we might possibly be able to just continue moving forward in a progressive way in this state, because I think that that's what this population really is.
And I just to second that, what Joe's saying is that our plan is that this isn't going to go away, right? This is we want to build the base for our candidates, where our candidates don't have to come and find the Democratic votes that are there and go touch them and get them out to vote. That as a community, we already have that. And then election cycle after election cycle, the new candidates, the strong candidates come in, they plug in, and we're there to help them immediately. That's our goal.
Are you finding, as people say ask for yard signs or want to put them in the yard, that the yard signs are something they've never done before either?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think that's so amazing, because I think yard signs, people, a lot of candidates say, oh, yard signs don't vote. But yard signs say a lot, and it empowers people. And if you've got a neighbor across the street from you that sees it every time they come and go, and they say, I really do believe like they do, then, and my neighbor does too. That's empowering versus a person who wants to vote Democratic, really, but they're surrounded by Republicans and Republican yard signs.
Yeah, it's that same thing about community and the signs and the magnets and just showing that we're all there. Sorry, Joe.
No, that's okay. I was going to say, look at the number of signs out for Beto and Colin Allred and Kendall Scudder and all of that now compared to 2016.
Yes.
I don't know. I hardly saw any Hillary signs.
Right.
And Hillary won here.
Significantly.
But yes, but nobody wanted to put those signs out.
Right.
And now we get requests constantly for signs, and we run out of signs constantly. And so I think they're good.
Ladies, we're out of time.
Oh, no.
We're
I plug
out
our
of
event?
time. Yeah, please do.
Next Saturday, September 8th, we're having a very large picnic at Casa Linda Park. We're going to have a lot of the candidates out there. We're going to do some block walking at 9 o'clock, and our picnic starts at 12:30. It's a thank you to all of our volunteers and all the voters. Please come out and join us.
But block walk first.
Yep.
And if you want more information about the feds, just go to their Facebook page. Just type it in. It'll come right up.
Or www.feds.org.
FEDDS.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, all.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Yay.
Come back, for sure.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below, or like, follow, or subscribe to us and get notices of all our videos. We love it, even when you call.